Iran and the United States and get peace negotiations back up and running. Pakistan has been mediating talks, including passing messages back and forth since the last round of negotiations ended without agreement.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There's also an effort to extend a 2-week ceasefire that's due to expire next week. President Trump tells Fox Business he considers the conflict to be nearly over, also suggesting oil prices could have been a lot higher right now.
I'm very happy, and it's going to come dropping down very big as soon as it's over, and I think it can be over very soon. So if they're smart, it will end soon.
In the meantime, a U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues for a third day. The president's critics argue his agenda is costing Americans money, but House Republicans are using tax deadline day to highlight tax breaks.
Democrats said, no, we want more of your money. But you know what Republicans did? We said absolutely not.
Conference Chair Lisa McClain alongside Speaker Mike Johnson, who says bigger tax refunds are part of positive change. A familiar debate returns in the House, which could vote tonight on whether to renew an expiring surveillance program.
President Trump's been on the phone and posting on social media, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe's been at the Capitol trying to convince holdout Republicans to support a full House vote on renewing Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, allowing the government to spy on foreigners outside the country. It expires on Monday. The House Rules Committee advanced a clean extension with no chance for amendments demanded by some Republicans who say the program is a backdoor way to illegally access Americans' communications.
Fox's Chris Foster. Surveillance supporters counter that it's critical for national security. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
This afternoon, expect cloudy skies with a breeze and very warm conditions. There will be a couple of showers along with a heavy thunderstorm. The storms have the potential to bring flooding downpours, hail, damaging wind gusts, and even an isolated tornado. The temperature will reach a high of 75 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Alex Marlowe doesn't like the roster.
We've accomplished a lot in the first year and a quarter of Trump's administration, probably far beyond most of our expectations. When I look at the slate of the Democrats, just in terms of issues, their people, what they're arguing for, they have zero charisma. They have zero ideas of any value.
The Alex Marlowe Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. Ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It's tax season, and by now, I know you're a bit tired of the numbers, but here's an important one you need to hear. $16 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud. Not all grim news. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second for your personal information and alerts you to threats that you could easily miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to fix it. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK, 1-800-LifeLock or lifelock.com. Terms to apply.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
The following live program is sponsored by Breakthrough Ideas.
AM 560, The Answer. It's time for breaking news, expert insight, and informed commentary on what's happening in Springfield, Chicago, and beyond. Because an informed citizenry is the only way to protect our republic. It's time for The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson.
Well, I am not surprised one bit. A U.S. appellate court has ordered 2 defendants in the ComEd 4 case to be released pending a new trial. Reading from the Center Square. Hours after oral arguments began on Tuesday at the Dirksen U.S. Courthouse in Chicago, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals directed the federal government to release former ComEd CEO Ann Parmajori on bond pending a new trial. The appellate court also ruled that co-defendant Michael McClain is entitled to bond because he is not likely to flee or pose a danger to the safety of any other person in the community, and because the appeal raises a substantial question that will result in an order for a new trial. Of course, they were convicted along with 2 other folks. That is John Hooker and Jay Doherty. They did not appeal their convictions, and they are already out having served lesser time. So McClain was serving a 2-year prison sentence, as was Parmajori, and they are now out pending this appeal. This is huge news, quite frankly, and I'm personally not surprised. Do I think that they crossed the line and did favors for Mike Madigan to get legislation passed? Absolutely. But like I said before, and I said this all through the trial, Amy, that the back scratching didn't need to be said under Madigan. It was understood. There didn't need to be a quid pro quo because a quid pro quo had been in place for years. And so, do we need stronger ethics rules? 100%. But what we really need are politicians who do the right thing, and that is not the Democrat Party. Now, I'm hoping Madigan's conviction does stick.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, and I'm sure people want to know, what does this mean for Mike Madigan? Is he going to stay behind bars, or is this a good ruling for him?
You know, it's a very good ruling for him because what it is stemming from is the Supreme Court decision on what constitutes bribery or not. And this comes from an Indiana case on a similar local official that was accused of bribery. He got that overturned. The Supreme Court weighed in on what constitutes bribery. Again, so Madigan is hoping, he's already in his appeal process. He's already put that up. But again, he reported to prison last November. He's sitting in a West Virginia prison right now, federal prison. But you know what? We don't know. There are elements of both of these that don't include bribery, but rather conspiracy and some other things. So who knows what's going to happen in a retrial. But Madigan is certainly at his age hoping to get out with the same appeal. I will say, though, he created an atmosphere where honest conversations about policy aren't made and unethical people bought his favor. There's no doubt about it. But I want to tell you this. I wholeheartutely believe it still goes on with the unions buying votes with their hefty donations. So we'll have more on this story. But Amy, there's quite a few other things to talk about too.
Yeah, but remember that long list of people who wrote a letter on his behalf during his sentencing?
Yes.
Good friends of ours, like Paul Vallis, I believe, some other people that obviously his daughter, the former Attorney General, Lisa Madigan's stepdaughter, but he did adopt her. She wanted him to keep him out of prison.
Yeah, I don't want to name names without having that list in front of me, but there was a lot of prominent people, Republicans included, on that side, writing favorable stuff about Madigan.
and Jim Edgar. I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. He was
governor,
one of them.
Yes,
yes.
So it was crazy. And also, we're talking about is something that did not happen. A new form of policing. 312-642-5600. Of course, we're talking about what happened last night in Hyde Park. Remember, there was a big stampede. Wild, crazy teenagers were jumping on top of cars, vandalizing cars, making dents and cracking the windshields. 3 kids got arrested. Well, last week on social media, there was a flyer out. They call them social media flyers. The flyer encouraged participants to bring their own beer and weed and meet in front of the Sip and Save coffee shop in Hyde Park. So people knew about this. And one of the reasons why people knew about it, guess whose kid goes to school near there? Near Sip and Save.
I want to, boy, if I have to, like Stacey Davis Gates?
No, she said that's public schools aren't good enough for her babies. Mayor Johnson.
Okay.
Kenwood Academy. And Kenwood Academy got wind of this, maybe because of the mayor, maybe not. But parents showed up by the dozens. And they brought their dogs, and they literally.
It's about time.
I know, and the principal of Kenwood High School, Kenwood Academy, she was there too. She was ready to go.
Hyde Park is an amazing area, you know, and it's not odd that people want to come and walk and really. There's nothing wrong with that. We just want to make sure that everybody is safe.
And there was one point, Jeannie, and thanks to social media for showing this, where during the promissory point is. It's 52nd and Lakeshore Drive. It's a beautiful area along the lakefront. Parents were literally chasing kids to make sure that they wouldn't gather to scare. So they were acting like police officers. Mayor Johnson warned of the Hyde Park teen takeover. Then he edited it on social media to teen trend because he didn't want to make the teenagers feel unwelcome. Which is ridiculous. But I mean, do you approve adults chasing teenagers in Chicago is the new policy direction of the mayor's office? Some parents say, yeah, I'm in.
Well, police can't chase their own kids, so they might as well have the parents chase the kids because that's apparently completely legal, but no foot chases for the police. Oh, no.
More people out, you know, that can help to de-escalate and perhaps eliminate some of the activity that we saw. This is the first of the effort, and we're hoping to do more of that because, you know, summer hasn't come yet, and we want to continue to do this.
I have been waiting for this for years because we're hard on parents in the Black community and single moms. We are. It's just what it is, and I'm not saying that white kids, because during the George Floyd riots, there was a kid from Lane Tech. I know who he is. I put it out on social media. His parents, who are rich and wealthy white folk, paid money to get it off because they wanted to make sure he can get into college, that he could get into the fraternity he wants. But by the most part, we ask people in the Black community, like, step up, be better fathers, be better mothers. And last night, they did.
They showed up.
And I'm so proud of them.
Are they going to include a parent takeover monitoring as part of their parent mentoring programs in these schools? Are they going to create a new NGO? Is this a new sort of violence prevention grant program to parents who now are going to be watching their children? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit cynical here.
You think?
About this.
Hang 'em high eyes. That's for sure. No, I don't know. I mean, all the parents that were there who had kids that attend Kenwood Academy, they were wearing their red Kenwood Academy shirts.
Well, Kenwood Academy is, pretty. I checked them out. They're a lot better school than most CPS schools.
I love that school.
Okay.
We played them a lot in volleyball. I love their principal.
Good.
I love their coach. I mean, they really truly care about their kids. And I know they had that basketball scandal, because they were apparently were recruiting, but whatever. But it doesn't matter. You have people in that building who love those kids.
Well, if they are creating a trend where parents start to take responsibility for their children and shut off any of the, disruptive behavior ahead of time, I am all for that. I mean, good.
I've lived here since 1996. Somebody stepped up. Oh, I almost said tears in my eyes. Let's go to Michael on the South Side. He joins us on The Real Story. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Hi. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Jeannie. Thank you both for taking my call, and thank you both for having the courage to speak truth. There are two quick points to mention about these teen takeovers. Yeah, the teens are going to Hyde Park because they know that's where all the liberals live.
Oh, that's a good point.
And they'll never. Hyde Park is so liberal. There are three sides of there are 3 borders in Hyde Park that are associated with crime, but those people stay liberal no matter what. So, of course, the kids are going to go there and clown.
Yeah, but they stopped them. But what do you think, real quick, what do you think of the actions that the parents took last night?
You know what? Too little, too late. Should have been done years ago.
Okay. I disagree.
He's kind of with me. All right, Michael. Hey, we appreciate the phone call.
Seriously. And the other thing worth mentioning, Alderman William Hall recently went on TV and blamed Facebook.
Yep, I saw that.
For these teen overs. I was like, what a weasel. I know. The guy's a total weasel.
Right. All you had to do was do what they did. They knew that this was going to be a teen takeover last Tuesday. They put out those social media flyers. So they got on top of it. Parents got involved. I think it's a good deal. Thanks, Michael, for the phone call. All right, coming up on The Real Story, Watchdog Wednesday, an alleged hate crime incident in Central Illinois. The details straight ahead.
You're listening to The Real Story with Jeanne Ives and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Now that spring is here, it's time for some spring home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call CenterGuard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560, you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with CenterGuard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive spring special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Advantage Gold, America's #1 precious metals company, is sounding the alarm that a storm is coming and that now is the time to diversify your portfolio before it's too late. That's why we're offering an emergency gold and silver protection kit valued at $49, absolutely free for anyone who calls today at 800-900-8000. This kit includes critical information for investors with a retirement account seeking to own physical gold and silver but want to do it tax and penalty free. Advantage Gold has helped investors protect and secure their wealth with physical gold and silver since 2014. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 and we'll rush your emergency gold and silver kit plus a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. See how gold and silver can help you protect and secure your wealth with the help of Advantage Gold. Results vary. Consult your tax advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, we know what that music means. It is time for the Watchdogs. And so John Kraft and Kirk Allen joins us now. They are the Edgar County Watchdogs. And John, let's start with you because I just can't even believe the story that you sort of told me about. But I want you to tell the audience more about this alleged hate crime incident. Down in Central Illinois, I think people will find that this type of action is still happening today.
Well, thanks for having us, Jeannie. Down here in Paris, Illinois, that last, I think, April 3rd, the result of this is 2 people are being charged with attempted first-degree murder and hate crimes. Jameel Jones is an alderman in Danville, and 2 of his cousins, him and 2 of his cousins came to Paris to do some catfishing late at night, which is, typically when you fish for catfish. And they're black. All 3 of them are black. And then while they were there, 3 white guys pull up in a Dodge pickup truck and immediately started intimidating them, called them the N-word, surrounding them one at a time, trying to get them to do something, but they didn't react. And then one of them goes to their pickup truck, pulls out a shotgun and shoots it in the air. So one of the Jaleel Jones's cousins started walking to their car, and then he pumped the shotgun, put another round in it, pointed it at the guy's head, and told him, don't effing move. So the other 2, the alderman and his other cousin, started distracting the guy with the shotgun, and then he pointed the shotgun at them, and they take off running into the dark, and hear shotguns behind them. Meanwhile, Jones is on the phone with 911, and they can hear the shotguns blasting in the background. And the first guy that went towards the car reached in, pulled his pistol out, and shot the guy with the shotgun 3 times, twice in the stomach and once in the left hip. That's what stopped the attack. But it was a whole bunch of racial slurs and threats. And initially, the perpetrators were, using a shotgun, and the police caught them eventually when they had to call the ambulance, and then the guy had to be life-flighted out to get treated for the gunshot wounds. But the one that shot with the pistol from Danville was licensed, and our state's attorney and the police considered that self-defense, and rightfully so. But so these Coleman brothers, Jesse and Jordan, are held without bail, attempted first-degree murder, hate crimes, possession of firearm by a felon, and this isn't his first time being arrested for possessing a firearm as a felon. So I think they're probably going to go away for a while. And one thing we found out at the 911 meeting that we went to, Emergency Telephone System Board, was that 2 of the dispatchers that were on duty that night, apparently something with how they handled the calls was not right. So now they're being investigated, and they're going to be interrogated by, I believe, the state police this week, this Thursday or next Tuesday, to figure out why they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. But we don't know what happened on the 911 calls yet, because we don't have copies of the calls.
So who was, this is just shocking to me, quite frankly, that this is happening in 2026. I thought we were better than that. But especially because it does seem so racially motivated. I'm a little bit confused. So Jones shot one of the Coleman brothers in the gut. Is that what happened?
Well, what Jones's cousin that was there with him shot. Jones was running along with his other cousin after it distracted one of the Coleman brothers that had the shotgun. It was Jordan Coleman that had the shotgun. And then his other cousin, while they were running, and the guy was blasting the shotgun in their direction, his other cousin reached in the car, retrieved his pistol, and shot the guy with a shotgun 3 times.
So everybody is still alive. They were all saved, but you definitely have one that's self-defense, and the other 2 were absolutely, it looks like, attempted first-degree murder. That's what they're charged with.
That's just more reason to become legal if you have a firearm. Get your FOID card, get your concealed carry card.
Well, in your report, you say that the Coleman brothers claim they were attacked for no reason by 3 black guys.
Yeah, that's when the police first caught up to them outside the park area that had happened, when they called the ambulance, and they initially claimed that they were attacked by 3 black guys without any reason. And then the police are like, "Yeah, we heard the 911 call." We can see the shotgun shells on the ground. So the evidence of the 911 calls didn't back up their story. So they ended up being arrested, I think, the next day or close to that.
Well, we're glad they're not out on the Safety Act.
Yeah, they're not going to. I doubt if they get out under that. It was a Class X felony, attempted first-degree murder, and several Class 3 felonies for the hate crime and other things.
Well, I'll be interested to find out what the 911 call says, investigation says, and if there was any, problems with that. So, hey, John, thanks a lot for bringing us this story. I think it's really important for everybody in the state to hear this particular incident. And, hate has no home here. Not really. Okay, we're going to move quickly to Kirk. Kirk, you've been watching this Illinois Department of Corrections, and we talked about it briefly with Chapin Rose on Monday about their audit report, and it's boy, I don't know if I've seen a worse audit report, but maybe I have.
Thanks for having me, Jeannie. Yeah, it's a pretty scathing report. A little back history on it, and it's probably been 7 or 8 months ago that you and I were working on this. The Department of Corrections, specifically the Statesville Center that's up there in Joliet and Will County, we had tips that there were all kinds of inappropriate contracting, no bid business, just a litany of problems. And when I started FOIAing records to get to the bottom of the allegations, one of the things that jumped out initially was these mobile kitchens that are being purchased. And I'm talking millions of dollars in mobile kitchen expenses. Well, as I went through my FOIA process, they started, when they realized what I was getting to, which was the no bid contracts, I asked for the invoices, which would have told me who these vendors were. They told me they don't have any records because Stateville is not under the control of Department of Corrections. They told the Attorney General, Public Access Counselor, that when I tried to challenge their FOIA denial, and basically was told, well, there's nothing we can do. They claim that they don't have the records because they don't run Stateville. Well, then we get this report that's got the scathing 40 findings that include, and it's interesting, the word they use in this report, estimated cost $803,475 for a vendor to use mobile dietary kitchens. Well, that was one of the very contracts that I had FOIA requested. And in this report, they say estimated cost $803,000. Well, the actual cost is $2.8 million just in 2024. So I'm not sure where these people are getting their numbers. I mean, they're scathing, but trust me, they're a whole lot worse when you look at the actual data instead of estimating it. So I'm not sure why they estimated it so low. But the trailer scandal is there. The no bid contracts are there. $200,000 in funds for 15-foot and 16-foot box trucks. Well, you can buy used box trucks. They're a dime a dozen in the marketplace, and they're a couple $1,000 a piece. But we spent $200,000 on them.
Well, is it somebody's cousin who owns this dietary kitchen?
No, it's actually a place from New Jersey. It looks like it's a place from New Jersey.
Yes, it's out on the East Coast, and therein lies the problem. That was the only contract I actually got my hands on. The rest of them, they told me that, they don't have the records. So I don't know how anybody went about this and thought it was okay, but I did speak with another senator yesterday, and DOC is well known in Springfield for lying about things. The lady that's running that operation, from her down, is completely incompetent when it comes to management and fiscal responsibility. There is none, and they don't care. I mean, this report pinpoints $155 million in overtime payments when people were actually taking leave.
All right, that's our music. We're going to stay on this story. We have more to report on this. We're going to come back to it with the Watchdogs because I got tipped off about what was happening in Stateville, and that's how this all started because somebody sent me a tip. Please send me your tips. Pope versus the president.
Coming up next, and Darren Bailey wants an apology. We'll explain.
Hugh Hewitt defends the president.
And so all those presidents you mentioned, they all said Iran couldn't have a nuclear weapon. Well, now we've gone after their nuclear capacity once. They began to rebuild it again. We went after it a second time, and they closed the Strait of Hormuz. So they escalated. We have to control the ladder of escalation. I don't see an alternative. What was the president supposed to do? Let them rebuild it?
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Gianna Gelosi. The 2-week ceasefire with Iran ends April 22nd, and more peace talks could be on the way.
This week, President Trump indicated that direct talks between the United States and Iran could resume as early as this week. Overnight, he told Fox News that the economic impact of the war was actually lower than he anticipated, and he sees the conflict as being over soon.
It's Fox's Trey Yanks. The House is back to work with 2 fewer congressmen. Republican Tony Gonzalez resigned over an affair with a staffer that committed suicide. Democrat Eric Swalwell also quit as a 5th woman accused him of sexual misconduct. House Speaker Mike Johnson earlier today.
We've tightened up ethics rules and the laws that apply here, and will continue to be as aggressive as possible to make sure this doesn't happen. We will bring exact punishment upon those who violate that sacred obligation they have.
America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
This afternoon, expect cloudy skies with a brisk breeze and very warm conditions. There will be a few showers and the possibility of a heavy thunderstorm. These storms may result in flooding downpours, hail, damaging wind gusts, and even an isolated tornado. The temperature will reach a high of 75 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Hey, sorry to hear your mom passed away.
Thanks.
A lot of work to do settling her assets?
Actually, she prepared a living trust. Makes this process simple.
Yeah, I set up a will for my kids. Should make it easy.
Well, unless your assets are small, your kids will have to go to court to settle your will.
So, where do I get a living trust?
Nauman and Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee. No surprises.
Nauman and Associates in Elk Grove Village?
That's right. NALawGroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
All right, you know I don't push products I don't believe in, so listen up because this one, it is growing on me, and I love it. And it's Virago. It's a liquid immune support. I spoke with Dr. Huber, the creator of Virago, and let me tell you, this man knows immune health like nobody's business. He explained to me the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights back against viruses, disease, inflammation, all of it. That's why he created Virago. It's a liquid immune boosting supplement packed with 23 powerful ingredients working together in synergy. It's antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and even protects your heart, kidneys, and liver. And because it's liquid, your body absorbs it quickly. I mix Virago with my orange juice in the morning, and I feel the difference, and you will too. I refrigerate my Virago, and you guys, I'm telling you, I love it. Order your bottle of Virago today at myvirago.com. That's myVIROGO.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com, coupon code IMMUNE.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to The Real Story. Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson. So somebody is looking for an apology, Jeannie. One Darren Bailey wants President Trump to apologize to our Chicago Pope for comments made. It's this back and forth, making national news. But of course, it's all local because the Pope is from the Chicago area.
Let's be honest, I've said things that I wished I could pull back, and I certainly hope that's the case with President Trump, that this was all in bad taste, and hopefully he will apologize for it.
Well, sometimes it's better off you just don't make any comment, and Darren Bailey is getting crucified.
Hey-o, I like the wordplay you'd use there.
On X for, essentially not, it sounds like he's backing away from Trump.
Well, a lot of people, according to NBC5 News, I watched it so you didn't have to, they said not only Democrats but Republicans want President Trump to apologize to the Pope. They spoke to people outside of Holy Name Cathedral.
I think the Pope's always been a messenger for peace, and I just think that's what he's saying. He thinks that there's no just war here.
The Pope is just trying to do, he wants peace. He's a Pope. He's got to have peace in the world.
Well, Political, again, said that Darren Bailey, the Republican who once eagerly aligned himself with President Donald Trump and his political movement, is now drawing a more careful distinction. He's not MAGA. He's just a Republican. So anyway, we'll see how this plays out. But there's so much more to talk about this controversy, and it has been a huge controversy. And, of course, we're very fortunate that our own Brian Birch, who is, from Lombard, quite frankly, he is the ambassador to the Vatican. He's kind of got a difficult thing that he has to wade into right now. But here to talk more about this, because she's super informed, is Mary Fiorito. She's the Ethics and Public Policy Center Cardinal Francis George Fellow, and she's also a Chicagoan, and she joins us right now. Mary, thanks so much for joining us on this important topic.
Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Amy, for having me.
So what say you about it all?
Well, as the kids say, it's complicated, right? I mean, I think, unfortunately, we had a confluence of events, not the least of which was the recent meeting that the Holy Father had with Governor Pritzker, in which Governor Pritzker, I think, attempted to play the Pope, because I believe he went to that meeting and asked for it because he knew he was going to sign that assisted suicide bill that was sitting on his desk. And he wanted the Pope to provide him some kind of cover. So he got exactly what he wanted. He got a private, closed-door meeting with the Pope. He got plenty of pictures. And then afterwards, knowing that it is not the tradition of the Holy See to comment on private meetings, in fact, they very rarely do that, he just said, oh, yes, the Pope and I discussed it, and we agreed to disagree because we're different religions, as if killing elderly and sick people was a religious issue and not one that crosses religious barriers. But I digress. And then he had the meeting with David Axelrod. And so I can see how and then in between those two things, a meeting with a number of different Illinois legislators.
Yes.
Some Democrats, but mostly some Republicans, but mostly Democrats, many of whom have extreme pro-abortion voting records. And so I can see how for President Trump, he might have been antagonized by those three things and by the optics it presented, which was, the president has not himself yet met with Pope Leo. However, he's met with David Axelrod, President Obama's chief strategist. So I can see how that would have presented to the president the appearance that it looked like the church was taking sides and that Pope Leo was personally taking sides. However, all that being said, there is precedent for popes speaking out very strongly against war. We saw this I think most recently, prior to Pope Leo, with Pope John Paul II and George Bush during the time leading up to the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And in fact, I worked for Cardinal George at the time and was sitting in the office when Condoleezza Rice called Cardinal George to try to gain a better understanding of why it was that Pope John Paul II was so adamantly opposed to the United States getting into that war. So, and I think President Bush has tremendous respect for Pope John Paul II, and I think the Pope did for President Bush. However, the Pope's job is not to be political, as difficult as that may, sound, because it did sound like he was making a political statement. His job is to preach the gospel, and war should always be a very last option, according to the Catholic just war theory. And so, I think Pope Leo just kind of felt he was doing what he was put here to do, which is to preach peace in all circumstances, and sometimes in very difficult circumstances, right? And so, I do think. I agree with Bishop Robert Barron, who put out a very strong statement, although he is on the President's Religious Liberty Commission, that President Trump does owe the Holy Father an apology. I think that his remarks were a little much given the circumstances, but again, I can understand with all the other things that happened in the weeks leading up to it, why President Trump would have been so upset.
Well, I think people should know that before he was the Pope and when he was Mr. Prevost, in 2012, he pulled a Republican primary ballot. In 2014, he pulled a primary Republican ballot. In the primary in 2016, he pulled a Republican ballot. We know he did not vote in the primary via mail-in ballots in 2018. In 2018 and 2024, he just voted in the general election.
But he did pull Democrat ballots in 10 and in 8.
In 2010 and in 2008?
He did.
So what does that mean to you?
He's an independent.
Yeah, well, right. And he probably, or like many of us, like my parents, I mean, my dad was the Democratic precinct captain, but, I don't think my parents pulled a Republican. Maybe they did for, Jeanne, help me out here. Who was the man from downstate? Who was
for me in 18, did they pull a Republican?
Glenn Burchard?
Yeah. Glenn Burchard. Yeah.
See, you didn't need Jeannie for that. I have that all wrapped up. He looked like the Joker. He had the mustache.
Good.
Remember?
Right, exactly. And so anytime they could vote for pro-life Democrats, they did that. And I think probably the Holy Father's along the same lines, trying to look for someone who would be supportive of vouchers for Catholic school students and pro-life issues. In fact, when the Pope was a student at Villanova, he was the president of the pro-life club there and went with a group of students to Washington to the March for Life every year. So, a lot of Catholics find themselves sort of politically homeless, and, abortion is certainly a key issue, as, is support for Catholic schools and religious liberty. So, it just from season to season, it can vary how you vote, right? Because you're looking at issues. You're not technically looking at a party most of the time.
Well, Kelsey Reinhardt on our Twitter, and she signs off as Catholic Vote. She says, what American Catholics should oppose is the deliberate effort to manufacture a large-scale confrontation between the Vatican and the United States, between Pope Leo and President Trump, or between fidelity to the Holy Father and love of country. Parts of the media are pushing that narrative. So are identifiable bad actors, including some inside the church. They want conflict, they feed on confusion, and they benefit from division. Catholics should be smarter than that. I'm sorry, but I can't help but think about this 60 Minutes interview with the three cardinals who were obviously anti-Trump in that dialogue with Nora.
Nora on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, on 60 Minutes.
Oh, when I watched it, I thought it was just a Trump bash piece. Like, why are they doing this? They didn't need to gather.
The cardinals are not the popes, but the cardinals certainly
spoke on behalf of the Pope, I thought.
It felt that way. I don't know.
I don't think I'd agree with that, because not only do they not speak for the Pope, but they don't speak for the rest of the bishops in the country. The bishops have an arm, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And in fact, I went and looked this back up. When the day of the inauguration of President Biden, the then president of the conference, who was Archbishop Gomez from Los Angeles, put out a statement on behalf of all the bishops, very roundly criticizing President Biden for touting his Catholic faith while at the same time engaging in policies and promoting them that were extremely pro-abortion, very much in favor of same-sex marriage, those kind of things. And Cardinal Cupich criticized the rest of his brother bishops for doing that. And so now you I guess what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. Now you have him going around giving interviews on 60 Minutes when, the average Catholic in the pew might not think, well, oh gosh, there's 3 cardinals speaking, but they weren't speaking on behalf of all the other bishops in this country. And when the bishops do that, they do that as a conference. And so this was their individual, initiative. They're speaking for themselves only. They do not represent the bishops as a whole. And certainly, I don't think I heard anything where they presume to speak for the Holy Father. That would be a terrible breach of protocol if they said or did something like that.
No, but the optics from people who aren't as informed were there because, again, if this were 6 months, this were 6 months prior to all this brush up, fine. But no, 60 Minutes did this intentionally to increase the narrative that there's this big division. This was very intentional, and the Cardinals should have known what they were walking into.
Oh, of course, no. They knew exactly what they're doing. I'm not trying to give them a pass here. Of course they knew what they were doing. And they're banking on, the average person in the pew not really understanding all of these nuances. So I think it was very ill-advised for them to do this. I think they have put Pope Leo in a terrible position now. We should be here in Chicago, trying to recreate that incredible joy that we had when St. John Paul II came and visited Chicago.
Yep.
Everybody of a certain age remembers that. We got the whole week off school. We all went to Grant Park. It was so wonderful. And now all of that's not possible. I think very much a lot of the blame falls on those 3 cardinals for stirring up division. Cardinal Cupich, I know for a fact, is the one who arranged the meeting for David Axelrod as well as for Pritzker, as well as those Illinois politicians. And so I do think that there is an attempt to drive a wedge between the average American Catholic and the Trump administration. I think they're very angry that Kamala Harris won. I don't know how anybody with half a brain cell could possibly have thought she would have been a good president, but here we are. And not to mention all of the consistent cover-up of the very cognitive decline that President Biden, was going under, before our very eyes. So I don't like all of this. And I think it's so sad for Pope Leo. This should have been a joyful homecoming for him for the 250th anniversary of the country.
And now he's not coming. No, he's not coming. He's going to be... Where is he going to be spending our 250th anniversary on July 4th?
Some Italian island where migrants transverse to get to the mainland.
And speaking of that, real quick, Tom Holman, he wants to sit down with Pope Leo to explain immigration and how illegals have hurt not only our country, but have hurt countries around the world.
I'm not going to speak for the president. I'm speaking for myself, a lifelong Catholic. I wish they stay out of immigration. They don't know what they're talking about. Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years and talked to a 9-year-old girl that got raped multiple times, or stood in the back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead aliens at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy that baked to death, if they understood the atrocities that happened on the open border, I think their opinion would change. And I welcome discussion with any of them because they don't understand. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. What President Trump had the most secure border in the lifetime of this nation right now. Lives are being saved. He's saving thousands of lives a year.
And so the Democrats, now that I've learned this morning, are the ones that are pitting Republicans against Pope Leo and turning him in a different direction. Seems like an anti-American direction. What do you think, Mary?
Oh, I think that's exactly right. And, every time I think about poor Sheridan Gorman and her family, that should have hit very close to home for Pope Leo as well. Here you have a Loyola University student. My youngest is a senior in high school and was given a very generous scholarship offer by Loyola. And I have to tell you, I'm second guessing it now. I don't know that we're going to accept. I do not want to put her in a situation if illegal immigrants who have not been vetted are roaming that neighborhood. I just think it's appalling that this has become so political. Again, I'm very angry on the Holy Father's behalf. I wish that the president would send Marco Rubio to go sit down and meet with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could work because Marco Rubio is a very serious Catholic. He is, I think, a very bright man. I think, as a Cuban American, I think he understands a lot of the nuances, both from the immigrant's perspective and from an American citizen's perspective. And I think that could actually help heal. We have to work together. We cannot have the President of the United States at odds with the Holy Father. And, even at the height of the tensions over the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and Pope, I tell you, Pope John Paul II, I went back and looked, he did not pull any punches. But President Bush remained respectful. He never spoke ill of the Holy Father. As I said, Condoleezza Rice met with Cardinal George. They tried to work these things out diplomatically. So there was dialogue. And of course, it wasn't a social media time either. But still, there were efforts to kind of stay above the fray and everyone to, at least be cordial and respectful. Because, at the end of the day, both for the office of the president and the office of the Pope, whether you dislike the person, you must have respect for the office that person holds. And that's what I'm not seeing in like the statements of those three cardinals who went on 60 Minutes. You must have respect for the office that the president
All right.
holds.
Thank you, Mary, so much for your time and for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Don't believe the official narrative? You've got the real story on AM 560. The Answer.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. We've got the phone lines are lined up here.
The phone lines are jammed.
Yes,
Jeannie.
that's great. You know what? Let's just go to Diane in Buffalo Grove real quick here.
Good morning, Diane. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Great.
Good.
I was listening to another Salem newscast broadcast, and they were mentioning the utmost stringent immigration and citizenship rights for Vatican City. They are the most severe in all of Europe. And again, I don't want to state them because I don't know every single one. But for the current Pope to come out, as he has said, and as he has looked the other way, he should first look within, because the Pope, you can't have residency in Vatican City through marriage, and there are enormous penalties, consequences for any type of violation.
All right, Diane, thanks for the comment.
And
Appreciate
they have a strong border around that little tiny country inside Rome. So,
all right, we're going to go to Jerry. Jerry from Western Burbs.
Good morning, ladies. One thing that's not being mentioned is the money that Catholic Charities was getting and is not getting now. So it's the church, cater to the souls, but it's a business. And when that money gets pulled, how is Supich going to look when somebody has to pay for all of these folks that they brought in?
Yeah, well, I do know that at least in Illinois, 60% of Catholic Charities money comes from the state government. So there you go. All right. Thanks a lot, Jerry. Great comment. Dave and Niles, welcome to the program.
Great show as usual. Could it be, is the question, could it be that the Democrats before, they tried it through marshaling out these supposed sophisticates that say that Trump, while he's in the middle of trying to straighten out this Iran problem and all that, is that troops do not need to follow illegal orders. Trump had to jump on that because he's got to keep his troops in line. We've got to keep going forward. And he didn't want them to let go of the steering mechanism when it comes to the ships and all that, because these are illegal orders. And then they never found an illegal order. Now the Democrats go ahead and steer the Pope because there are so many Catholics holding on to that steering mechanism on those ships. And they have the Pope come out to say that what you're doing goes against the Bible and God and the Catholic faith.
All right. Okay.
Trump had to get out there. He had to get out there and knock that thing right out of the park. And the Pope is wrong. He's absolutely wrong. And by stirring that pot, he got that message out right away. We can't let this go. We can't have a nuclear weapon landing, and then we have the priests that survive kneeling by the bodies. That's just not acceptable. And the Catholic Church, again, even though I love the Catholic Church, blew it.
Okay, Dave, thanks a lot. I appreciate your comment. I just will say this, though, about that. One, just war theory, St. Augustine, started the whole conversation about just war theory. He's a known theologian, back in the 300s, ferreting all this out. And it's like, first of all, the decision to go to war, and then the decision of how to conduct war. And I will say this, there's nobody on a ship that's not listening to their superior commander and instead listening to the Pope. That is not happening. So let's just, I just want to make that assurance. Okay, Craig in Mount Gregwood.
Hey, Jeannie and Amy, how are you doing?
Great. How are you, dear?
Great. I'm doing well. I remember calling in and talking to you a lot on the other radio or on the other show, Amy. Craig from Mount Greenwood. So, anyways, good to have you guys together here and talk on the subject. When the Pope made the comment about the Trump being like doing the war and keeping the war going, he's of peace and all that, and he made a comment about that God is would not condone any of this and that. And what that part brought up was in the Bible, there were times when God actually called for the priests of Baal. They were God called for the killing of them. They were, and there was other times where there was other nations that were super anti-God and anti, being what's it called, being like a menace on the earth, so to speak. And they were killing innocents and everything. And God basically used Christian people to do it. So that's an Old Testament.
Hey, Craig, I'm going to cut you off. We get it. We understand. Thanks for your comment and for adding to the conversation. Let's go very, very quickly to Manny. Manny on the south side. You got 30 seconds. That's it.
I'm as conservative can be, but think of Catholic Church as a political party. And Latin America is a big chunk of their base.
All right. Thank you so much for your phone calls. Thanks for your participation. We have lots to get to tomorrow as well. We have a parent who needs to get a control of himself, and we'll explain because his family is being discriminated
against. We also have
against.
Dr. Miriam Grossman on about the Lost in Transnation. She was with What is a Woman?
Good. Have a great day. We'll hear you back here tomorrow at 11 a.m.
A revolution in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence obsolete. 3 companies